Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we are now fully in the month of September. Last time when we talked, it was one day of the weekend was August, the next day was September. This weekend is fully in the month of September. Labor Day is behind us. The summer season is unofficially behind us. The fall season is now right here in front of us. And I look forward to this time of year. And we've had some tastes of fall lately, right? Mother Nature, we got some nights that were a little bit cold. The forecast for this weekend, one of the days looks nice and chilly. I like it. I like the cooler temperatures. I like the lower humidity. I like the change in colors, and I like the change in seasons. That's one of the best things about Michigan, in my opinion, is that we have basically 4 different seasons. I would get very bored if I lived somewhere where it was always something. So even Florida, where it's always basically summer. Now listen, don't get me wrong. In the middle of wintertime, I don't mind jumping down to Florida for a few days to get a break, but have it be like that all year long, I would get bored with it. The fact that we have changes in season, the changes in scenery, the changes in weather, and the changes in recreational opportunities, hunting and fishing opportunities that the different seasons bring, to me, is wonderful. So what's open right now? Early goose is open. The teal season is open. I almost said the experimental teal season. It's not experimental anymore. It's a teal season. Have you had a chance to get out and take advantage of it? I hope so. And I hope if you live in my neck of the woods, you shoot as many geese as you possibly can. Big flying rats. Seagulls are flying rats. Geese are big flying rats. Only the local geese. I have nothing against the flight geese that come down from up north. It's the local geese that hang around the parking lots and the ponds in my backyard. Those are the ones I really don't like. But so anyway, for the first time in several years, as I look forward to next weekend in the youth hunt, I don't have a youth hunter. My grandkids are too old now. So that'll be a little bit interesting, a little bit different. Yes, I could find somebody and take them out, but I don't have anybody lined up. So if you have a youth hunter coming up for the season next weekend, good luck to you. Have fun. Teach them well. Impart your wisdom on them. Teach them your skills. Share your skills with them. Instill this love of hunting. The youth season has so many detractors, although I think the NRC may have taken some of that ammunition, no pun intended, away from those who hate the youth hunt by making it does only next year. Now, there is a school of thought. In fact, Amy Trotter of MUCC was telling me this last week as we had her on Wednesday Night Live. She said, don't be surprised if this whole issue gets revisited. Personally, I was one of those people in favor of making the youth hunt does only. I thought it made a lot of sense from a biological perspective and a social perspective. But I can now see both sides of it. And there's a lot of criticism on that. But this year, though, for this year, 2024, the youth hunt and the Liberty hunt are both either does or an antlered buck. Youth hunt coming up, small game season just around the corner, which often gets overlooked these days, and in my world as well. Shame on me. Bear season coming up just around the corner. Good luck to you, bear hunters. I'm talking to a lot of my friends who, for whatever reason this year, drew tags for the first time here in Michigan, And they're so very excited. They're like sending me pictures. Avery, how big is this bear? Is this a shooter bear? Should I hold off on this bear? How do I judge a bear? And that is an interesting question, right? Because if a deer walks in, you look at the rack and the size of the body, but you look at the rack and go, okay, that is an animal I want to take, or I don't. A bear walks in, if you haven't bear hunted much, and it's a whole different ballgame. Bears can be extraordinarily hard to judge the size until you've seen a few of them. Nothing has ground shrinkage like a bear. The first bear I ever shot was up in Manitoba, and I knew it wasn't a big bear, but I didn't think it was a small bear. Walked up on it and went, ooh, that's a small bear. But the excitement of seeing that first bear and not having experience in judging bears, I will say there are certain things to look for, right? The ears, the size of the body, the shape of the body, the way it moves, a crease in the skull, the length of the legs, all kinds of different telltale signs that if you know what you're looking for, then you know what you're looking for. But if you don't, I just say be proud in whatever you harvest. I don't care if it's a deer, a bear, a goose. I don't care. Be proud of it. If you make the decision to pull the trigger or let an arrow go and you take an animal, then you need to be proud of it. You need to be happy with what you've accomplished. You need to revel in it. You need to just be very happy with it, right? Don't let others get you down. That's what got me away from deer hunting in large part, was others. I refused to let that happen to me in the bear hunting world. So before the seasons get here, a couple of things I need to do. I need to do some sighting in, right? I need to get the Brentons sighted in for my bear hunt in the UP with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. But that's not until the 25th. And then I need to get my crossbow sighted in for the archery season as well. Some might say, crossbow? Oh, that's not archery. No, it's not archery. You're a crossbow out there. That's like a string gun. Okay. Don't criticize me for using a crossbow if you use a compound. In fact, I'll go one step further. Don't criticize me for using a crossbow unless you actually go out there and cut down a sapling and make it into your bow and make your own string and make your own arrows and take stones and knap them into broadheads. If you do that, then you can criticize me for taking the easy way out. If you do any of those other things, if you don't do those, don't talk to me, right? It is such a personal choice. Our hunting and fishing adventures are subjective and personal and private. As long as you are hunting or fishing legally, that's all anybody can be concerned with. Yes, if we see somebody out there doing something illegal, absolutely. Talk to them. Suggest to them maybe you should do it differently. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, turn them in. But beyond that, we don't have any say in what our fellow hunters or anglers do. Whatever tool, legal tool they choose to use, whatever legal method they choose to use, whatever legal animal they choose to harvest is none of our business. This whole idea of shaming other hunters, shaming other anglers, I can't get around it. I shouldn't let it bother me as much as it does, but it does. I let myself become a victim of it in the deer hunting world, and I will not let myself become a victim of it in the bear hunting world or even the fishing world. It's not going to happen. And I would encourage you, what's the saying? Hunt your hunt. Do it legally. The morals and the ethics are completely personal. I posted a complete video of the new prototype Angler Quest. Mr. Angler Quest Brad Dupuis was on with us last week. I had a chance to see that boat. I shot video. We did a walkthrough of it. I have posted it on YouTube, my Instagram, on my Facebook. Brad has posted it over on the Angler Quest Owners Group as well. Check it out. It's very, very sweet. I'm working on the new truck. I got I had to get rid of my ZR2, not because I wanted to, but because I was out of miles. So I went to my friends at Garvon Chevy in Linwood, Midland, Saginaw, and Chesaning. I got a new Trail Boss, and the Trail Boss is already lifted up 2 inches, right? But I wanted to put a little bit bigger tires on it. So I took it over to Mike's Tire Sales in Cawcolin, got bigger tires put on it. I did not get the front end lifted this time, so there's still a little bit of a rake to it. The front end is still down a little bit, but man, it looks sharp. And by the time you hear this show, I will have gone down to Sign Image in Saginaw and got it wrapped with my graphics package, and it is sweet. I have pictures of that online as well. Okay, Wednesday Night Live coming up the 18th. I would encourage you to join us. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations. These are always a lot of fun. Some of our regulars can't make it this time around, so I'm encouraging you to join us. I want to have a full house that night. We have a lot of people joining us, and we have a lot of great giveaways, a lot of prizes to give away. That is the 18th at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. The food is excellent, and the company is outstanding. 989-343-0892. Coming up after the break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. He's been an outdoor maniac this fall, and he's got a lot more cool things planned, plus how they can help you process your wild game. Then Jason Garvon of the Michigan Wildlife Council. In our second hour, Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors, Steve Wyndham of MUCC, and in hour number 3, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods and wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. It's going to be a busy show. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad you're here, right here with us on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Matt Smith, Outdoor Realtor. Matt is a longtime friend of mine. He's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and on Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. It's an interesting time these days with prices and interest rates and mortgage rates and lack of maybe inventory out there. So you need somebody who's going to help you out, somebody you can trust, somebody who knows the business inside and out, and that is indeed Matt Smith. Check him out online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and on Instagram. Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. I mentioned that Matt is a friend of mine. I have been so very blessed to be able to work with so many people over the years that I consider friends. It's nice to have a business relationship with good people that you trust, that you know are making great products and services and are just fun to be around. And that's the relationship that I have developed over the years with the Grillo family. The Grillo family of Michigan Brand Meats, michiganbrand.net. With us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line, Nick Grillo, a good friend of mine and a hardcore outdoor lover. This guy, if he's not in the shop making Michigan Brand Meats or in the office promoting them, he's going to be on the water or in the woods because he's hardcore. Nick, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Listen, how did you get to this place? I mean, every time I talk to you, you're either coming back from an outdoor adventure or planning for another one. I follow you online. You're posting all these cool pictures. I mean, how did you get to be such hardcore? Did you grow up this way or did you evolve into this?
To be perfectly honest, I probably would say I evolved into it because growing up, I didn't even start hunting until I was 16. And my grandpa took me out for the first time. And I always liked fishing in the pond and stuff, but we didn't have a boat growing up and we didn't go fishing not that much. So it kind of did develop a little bit as I got older. And I had, a lot of brothers and a sister. And so we did a lot of stuff outside, but sports and everything. But it was really until I got over 18 there that I started to fall in love with it big time and started doing a lot of it myself and with friends and family and learning the ropes.
So, of all the different things you do you have a favorite? Can you narrow it down?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, right now is my favorite time of year with these the big king salmon coming into the harbors and coming into the rivers. So it's pretty tough for me to say which one's my favorite, if it's jigging the kings or if it's fishing in the rivers for them. But either way, light tackle for the king salmon, that's probably my favorite. I love that.
Well, and I've seen you post some pictures of some monsters lately, including one trip you were out there by yourself. I don't know. You got your hands full out there by yourself doing that and taking pictures, don't you?
Yep, that was a riot. So it was just kind of a random trip where I had a meeting that morning up north, and I kind of decided, you know what? It's not till like noon. How about I just head up myself with the boat, fish for a couple hours, and then I'll have my meeting. And sure enough, I kind of timed it just right. A lot of them were silverfish, but they were just coming in and they were fresh, they were active, they were aggressive. And I actually went 6 for 12 that morning, all on jigs. And like you said, by myself. So I was trying to net with one hand, 18 to 20 pound salmon. I caught actually 2 that were almost 28. They were big. And
wow.
It was a riot, but like you said, fighting them on light tackle and trying to net myself, and then trying to hold the fish up and take a picture, a selfie with the fish. That was fun too.
So, if you don't mind me asking, was that Manistee or Ludington or Frankfurt or what?
Actually, it was Frankfurt. I've done kind of a few different spots. I've done Manistee. I like to go a lot with Paul, as you know. He's one of our favorite charter captains that we love to use in the summer.
Paul Schlafly of Riverside.
Correct, yep. And then we go with Captain Bob, also up out of Traverse City. And we like him a lot because he offers a lot of variety. So we do perch fishing, we do jigging trips, we do trolling trips. And so a lot of times we are fishing with those guys. Sometimes I go by myself, like this trip. And, so I've done Pure Marquette before. I've done Manistee before. But this particular trip was Frankfurt. And, like I said, there wasn't too many boats in the harbor either. I think I timed it just right with some fresh fish coming in, and it was fun.
Just so we give Bob the credit to Captain Bob Hines is the guy you're talking about, right?
Correct, of Central Coast Angling, yep. Like I said, he's based out of Traverse City, and all those jump. Yeah, we go with him for the perch, and he's got that dialed down to a science. It's pretty amazing, the jumbos you find up there.
So going back to your jigging for these kings, years ago when we used to fish Muskegon, I would see the guys there anchored up in the channel at the mouth of the Muskegon Lake jigging. So I knew it existed. I didn't have much experience with it, but a couple of years ago I started talking to Larry Jennings of Jonah Jigs here on the show, and he kind of opened my eyes to this. And you were using his jigs, right? Not that it matters, but you were using his jigs, right?
Yep, correct. And that's kind of how I first heard about it too, was through the show. And I got a couple of those P-line jigs, and just, when I went to Walmart or Cabela's, wherever it was back then, and I kind of saw them and I said, I'm going to get that in case I ever do it. And obviously I heard about it from your show, so I bought some online as well from Larry. And I think it was 3 years ago was my first time ever actually catching one on a jig. And it was amazing. It was, I think it was me and my dad. We went together and we went 2 for 4. But then they were on the Jonah jigs. And then every year, I don't know what it seems to be, but I still have a couple of the other ones in the box, but it always seems to be the Jonah jigs. I don't know if it's the way they flutter, if it's just the paint designs, but they definitely seem to be a lot better than the other brands. So I've been obviously using those for the most part the last couple of years, only those jigs, and they sure work good.
And on this recent trip, again, being a walleye guy, I tend to think of jigging as bouncing them off the bottom. You're not doing that. You're fishing suspended fish, right?
Correct, and that's kind of the tricky part. Is I'm a walleye guy, as you know, down here by the Saginaw Bay and the Saginaw River, like you. So first couple trips, you're popping it like a little walleye pop, and it's like, no, you got to bounce this thing up. You got to get it a couple feet and let it flutter down, and so you still try to stick close to the bottom, but sometimes you'll see those suspended fish, only 15 feet down, and you try to reel up real quick and get in the little pot of them. But for the most part, it's those ones on the bottom. Obviously, you don't touch the bottom, but you have it, a foot to 3 foot off the bottom. And a lot of the time it's on the flutter down. So sometimes, I know you've heard about it, and it flutters down and you just see the line stop. And it's because those fish have it in their mouth and they're coming up with it. But then sometimes that line is tight and they just drill it and it almost yanks the rod right out of your hand. And those are the real fun hits.
Well, I know how much fun it is just to jig walleye. You get a nice walleye and you lift the rod up and boom, there's some weight. I can't imagine a 15, 20-pound king on the end of your line doing the same thing.
I know, and I think that's the part I love about it too. It's walleye, but times 100. It's amazing how fun they are. And again, it is a tough bite though. You're looking for the right kind of fish. You're looking for active fish. So that 6 for 12, like I mentioned, that I just had last week or a week and a half ago, that's not something that happens every day. That was probably my best day I've ever had. So those days are hard to come by. But man, if you can time it out where you can get a couple bites, it's a riot.
So timing is critical. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? Wind direction, water temp, water flow, or you just go whenever your schedule allows and hope that you get into some fresh fish?
That's kind of how I've been lately. It's our busy time of year at work, and I got food plots on the mind too to get ready for deer hunting. So I've been working on those, and I got all those done before Labor Day. So that's where it kind of worked out too. I had some free time, but yeah, you do look for those strong north winds so you can get some colder water to get pushed down. But still, it all just, how it is. Fish are going to do what fish do. So,
Yeah.
So it's kind of just keep your fingers crossed and hope that you time it just right. And I mean, there's times we've done that where we said, oh yeah, it's going to be perfect. It's blowing this, or the temperature's dropping, and we go there and there's not a single fish in there. And you say, what the heck? We thought it was going to be the best day. And so at the end of the day, it's still just trying to figure out what fish do.
How late into the fall will you do this, Nick, before you give up on it and move on to something else?
Pretty much now. Like I have gone before in like the second or third week of September, which we're getting close to. But by then my mind is just, I'm so eager to fight them in the rivers too. So that's where it's like, by then you'll definitely have some big schools already in the river system. And some late August and all, but I wait till about mid-September there.
I'm losing you a little bit, Nick. When you get in the rivers, how are you fishing them then?
So
I'm losing you a little bit, Nick. When you get into the rivers, how are you fishing them there?
So river fishing, we go solely with Captain Paul, like we mentioned. He's our river fishing salmon charter that we use, and he's got it dialed down to a science. It's amazing how he knows that river like the back of his hand. It's so fun. And we do a lot of casting with the stick baits like you've talked about on your show for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And then we float bobbers as well with skein and with spawn and everything. So it's all kind of depending what Captain Paul says is the best that time of day and year and everything. He obviously is on the river every day, so he knows what the fish have been doing. And so, yeah, he's our go-to captain for river fishing for sure.
Listen to the guy who knows what he's talking about. Nick, listen, we got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. You mentioned this is your busy time of year at work. After the break, when we come back, let's talk about that whole work thing. Let's talk about Michigan brand, how you guys got started and got to where you are today, and then what you can offer for those of us who love the outdoors, how you can help us out there as well. All right, Nick?
Sounds great.
We're talking to Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, the website michiganbrand.net. That's michiganbrand.net. By the way, if you go to that website, you can put in the promo code Mike20 and save 20% off your entire order. And that can be adding up, right? 20% off. Go to michiganbrand.net, michiganbrand.net. When it goes to checkout, put in the promo code Mike20 and save 20% on your entire order with Michigan-based Michigan Brand. More coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And north of the bridge in the Sioux, WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned Killer Food Plots. Yeah, we're getting down to the end of the fall food plots planting season, but it's not too late. You can still sneak some in. And by the way, Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots, they make great scents as well. Check them out online at killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Rich Krazan will be joining us at Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 18th. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations if you want to join us. I'd like to have my good friend Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand join us as well. He's not able to because of a scheduling conflict, but he's sending me there with some great giveaways as well. So, Nick, I appreciate that. Let's talk about Michigan Brand meats for just a couple of minutes here. You guys have been around for a long time now.
Yep, we have. Yeah, we've been here since the 80s, but in 1994 is when my dad changed the name to Michigan Brand, and we went a little different route. We were still always doing the hams and meat products, but he kind of went jerky and just had a feeling that was going to take off. And that's kind of when jerky did really take off as a healthy snack and a real good treat that a lot of people were starting to hit when they were on the road and everything.
Yeah, that turned out to be a good move. Now we can find your products all across the state.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we're over 500 locations right now just inside the state of Michigan. We have some outside the state as well. But a lot of our companies we work with are gas stations. Some are bait shops, mom and pop stores. Some are big gas stations and grocery stores that are across the whole state. So we're really all over, from Grand Rapids up to Traverse City, that whole west side. We're down by Detroit up to us, in the Tri-Cities, and all the way up to Alpena. And we even have a few locations past the bridge. So we're all over.
And when you find Michigan Brand products, check out the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks. They are outstanding. And what about, your roots were in deer processing. Now, you guys can't do that like you did in the old days, but for those of us who love to hunt, there's still things you can do for us, right?
Yep, correct. Even when I was working here at 16, I was skinning deer and doing a lot of that process of grinding burger and doing all that. But we did that for so many years, and then it just got too tough. We're a USDA inspected plant with obviously our beef and turkey products and all of our pork and all of our wild game that we sell across the state. And so it was just getting too hard to kind of keep up on regulations to keep it all separate. And without having to buy a whole separate facility, we decided to stop doing the whole carcasses. So that means, obviously, if you shoot a deer, you can't just bring us that whole deer and then we'll skin it, cut it into steaks. We can't do that anymore. But what we can do is, if you either take it to a processor or if you bone out the meat yourself, you don't even have to trim it up anywhere specific or any specific way. Just take the meat right off the bone and you can bring it to us, and we'll still make it into jerky or sausage or any of our products that we have listed on our website.
And you'll do that for bear as well.
Correct. Yep. We'll do that for really anything. Elk, bear. We've done wild boar every year. We have a couple normal guys that bring caribou every year and moose. We've even done duck and goose. We've even done some exotics like even lion. We've done rattlesnake before. We've done some different stuff that people have brought us. So we'll do it all.
You don't smoke fish, though, right?
Correct. Yeah, fish is a whole separate category. So that's correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So the last few years, what I've done is, I get my meat boned out, and then I bring it to you guys there at Michigan Brand. I drop it off and say, Nick, here's what I'm looking for. A few days later, a week later, whatever, you call me up and say, hey, it's all done.
Yep, exactly. That's how we like to do it, is just like you said. So you bring in the meat, we'll weigh it up for you while you're here, and then we'll have a good idea. Okay, so if you have an X amount of pounds, this is what you have to work with. So we'll show you basically our whole menu, and we'll show you all the different options you have, and we'll say, hey, you got this much meat, so you can get jerky made, you can get sausage, and then we kind of just go through and you decide what you want. If you want a couple pounds of jerky, you do have to remember that jerky shrinks about 50%.
Yeah.
So if you're bringing us 4 pounds of meat, you're only going to get 2 pounds of jerky back. So there's that. And then with the sausage, we add in our pork. So when you get it back, it's a 50-50 blend of your wild game and of our pork meat. That way it's not so dry, because as you know, venison and other wild games, they're kind of drier meat. So the pork helps it with that. So essentially the sausage, you're going to double the meat you get back.
So if you're looking for a good deal, if you're looking for a good return, sausage is in theory a better return than jerky. But man, I love that jerky.
Yep, yeah, it's really good. And the sausage is great because you can't go wrong with giving it out for, the holidays, or even cutting up for meat trays to take. And our snack sticks as well is great because you can sit those on the boat or even in the blind. And I think you and me have both done that.
Oh, yeah.
We're sitting in the blind hunting, and we're sitting there eating the snack sticks from our bear from the spring or from our deer last fall, whatever.
I've done that before, and I will do it again. Nick Grillo, always a pleasure. I enjoy following your adventures. I love spending time on the water with you. The website, michiganbrand.net. That's michiganbrand.net. If you go there, use the promo code Mike20, and you can get 20% off. Also, if you go to that website, michiganbrand.net, put in your zip code, there is a store locator button as well, so you can find Michigan Brand all across this great state of Michigan. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jason Garvon of the Michigan Wildlife Council right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on two stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. And north of the bridge in Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. Great place, great people, great facilities, great location. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com, linwoodbeachmarina.com. Walleye fishing on the inner bay is a little slow right now. Perch fishing is starting to pick up. And if your fishing basically is done for the season, Linwood Beach can take care of you there as well by I don't even want to say the word. I'm not even going to say the word that starts with W. They can get your boat ready for cold weather and storage. How's that? LinwoodBeachMarina.com. If you were with us last week, we tried to get in touch with Jason Garvon of the Michigan Wildlife Council. Now, Jason did answer his phone, but we had phone problems here in the studio, and we couldn't talk with Jason. So it's on us. Jason's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jason, I apologize for those phone problems last week, but I'm glad to have you along with us this time.
Oh, no problem, Mike. Nice to be here.
Always a pleasure. Obviously, we're talking about the Michigan Wildlife Council. You had a recent meeting a couple of weeks ago now at Jay's Sporting Goods. I had hoped to be to that meeting. I couldn't make it. Did anything newsworthy come out of that? What's the latest with the group and your efforts to promote hunting and fishing in Michigan?
Mike, I think you're going to start seeing a campaign aimed a little more at pushing the importance of hunting and fishing to the public a little more. We're going to start seeing hunters in our advertisement, which we haven't done before. But we're at that point with our audience, with our target audience, I should say. Obviously, hunters and anglers understand this, but it's those that don't that we're trying to inform about the importance to the economy and to conservation.
Up until this point, it's been, I'm going to say, what I think of it kind of as a soft sell. Is it taking a little harder edge now, Jason? Is that accurate, or is that too strong of a statement?
No, I don't think that's too strong at all. And we did start out very, very soft. I think people that thought of hunting envision big game hunting in Africa and trophy hunting, and that's really not what most of it's about, right? So it's about the community, it's about being with family, about being in the outdoors, and it's about harvesting food for the table. And I think you're going to see a bit harder approach, and we're going to be pushing that message.
That's interesting. Honestly, I'd never thought of that before. If you take somebody who is a non-hunter and you talk about hunting, yeah, their perception might be big game trophy hunting in Africa. They don't necessarily equate it to small game or deer hunting here in Michigan. Thank you for making that point.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And also we're going to try to engage hunters and anglers a little more as well. After all, it is $1 from their hunting licenses that funds the Michigan Wildlife Council.
So how would you do that, Jason? What do you guys envision?
So a little more outreach just to hunters and anglers, just to remind them how important their role is in conservation in the state of Michigan and protecting our wild waterways and our woods, and in guaranteeing access to everyone, including the non-hunters. I think that's going to be a big part forward.
Well, and you right here on this show, you've got the biggest statewide radio audience of hunters and anglers right here. So please take advantage of this audience and help to get that message across. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. Since the very beginning, I have said what you're doing is so important to reach this non-hunting and angling public. You know, people like you and I, we get it. We more than likely grew up in this lifestyle and we understand it. But the folks who didn't, and it's no fault of theirs, they just didn't grow up that way, we need to reach them these days. I think it's more important than ever, Jason.
I would agree. And I think if we're talking about hunters and anglers, we need to be conscious as hunters and anglers about our messaging. And so I know people have been speaking out about this in different forums, but you know, we've spent millions of $100 to educate those people who don't hunt and fish, but your one careless post on social media can undo a lot of our work. So to the hunters and anglers, you know, just be cautious about what you're posting and who can see that.
Jason, I appreciate you saying that so much. This is something I've been talking about for a while. No longer are we reaching into our wallet and showing our good friends pictures. We're posting them online where anybody can see them. Yes, thank you so very much. Now, we as hunters and anglers, we have a responsibility to our hunting and angling brothers and sisters to portray ourselves in a positive manner. So I thank you so much for that. And I'm so happy that the Michigan Wildlife Council is kind of making a little bit of a change in direction. I want to help you guys do that. So let's talk about this in the future. And again, I'm so glad to have you on this week, and I apologize for not making connections last time.
It's all right. It's nice to be here and look forward to meeting you at a Wildlife Council meeting, Mike.
Jason, I will look forward to that. I'll look forward to talking in the future. That's Jason Garvon of the Michigan Wildlife Council, the Here for Generations campaign, and the website is hereformioutdoors.org, hereformioutdoors.org. We're all on the same page on this one. I've been saying this for a while now. It's that, you know, we have to do our part as hunters and anglers. We have to do our part to portray ourselves as stewards of the resource that we are. And that involves, unfortunately, in today's world, being careful what we post on social media. We will talk a lot more about this topic in the future. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors and Steve Wyndham of MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to our #2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. And the best way, if you can, to listen to this show, in my opinion, is on your local radio station. Your local AM or FM station. I like to support my affiliate stations, right? I wouldn't be able to do what I am without the support of radio stations across our state. And I would like you to support them as well, but there are advantages for you, right? If you listen to your local radio station and listen to the show there, you know, you're going to hear your local news and weather and sports wrapped into the show during the breaks. You might even hear an ad, a commercial, maybe a sale, something you want to take advantage of. Plus, the radio shows get the content before the podcast version of the show is uploaded. Podcasting is a ubiquitous term these days. Everybody has a podcast. And that's great. But I have some podcasts too. In fact, I have a podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. And you can hear that on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I put it on my Facebook page. It's on all of the podcast platforms. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show, including YouTube. Now, I don't really put a video version of the show up on YouTube, although the first segment of the first hour is available as part of our Behind the Mic segments. You can see that on YouTube, on Twitter, now called X, also on LinkedIn, and also on my website. So you can check that out if you want to see what the inside of the radio studio looks like. I do podcasts for some of my advertising partners as well, including Angler Quest Boats, Primal Outdoors, and Offshore Tackle. And when we're done here in the studio, we will recording the radio show. We will record the September edition of the Offshore Tackle podcast. So keep an ear out for that. You can hear that on their website, offshoretackle.com. That's offshoretackle.com. All right, so now we're into the month of September. Some great fall fishing. The hunting season's now just getting ready to bust wide open. I know a lot of you are so excited for the upcoming deer season. You know, you're going to use products, right, as products and gear as part of your hunting and fishing adventures. I like to, whenever possible, seek out and work with and promote Michigan-based, family-owned companies. This time around, Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors, their website, maniacoutdoors.com, maniacoutdoors.com. And Harry is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Harry, welcome. How are you?
Good. Doing really good, Mike. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, listen, a real pleasure. Well, I got to give you credit, Harry. You reached out to me and you said, look, I got this company. I got these products. We are Michigan-based, and I think you should give me some exposure. And you wore me down. It's like, here you are. So congrats to you.
Thank you very much.
So,
I'm very persistent.
Well, and you know what? I respect that. I really do respect that, because people are not going to be successful in anything they do, whether it's life or business or sports or hunting or fishing, unless we are persistent and passionate. So I give that to you. So tell me about the company, Maniac Outdoors.
Well, basically, I started about 5 years ago. I've been in the hunting industry probably for 25 plus years. So I was a master plumber for 20-some years. I recently retired about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now, this is my full-time thing, but I've done stuff from Nikon, lacrosse banner, boots. You know, I've been to ATA shows, the SHOT shows, and Primos, and the whole 9 yards. And I noticed when a lot of stuff out there, especially the mineral blends, when we could actually use them here in Michigan, is everything was more geared towards having just an attractant. And I wanted something to set myself apart from just having your regular attractant. So I contacted a professor in ruminant nutrition and a deer biologist who I still work with today, and kind of gave her some ideas that I wanted kind of geared it towards more a healthier deer herd, not just having just an attractant. And I noticed a lot that there has been studies shown that there is an ingredient that actually can help with chronic wasting disease prions in the soil. So we went that route. We added that. And then it just started picking up some steam. It was more of just a side hustle, a hobby. But, when I do it, I try to do it right the first time. And that was about a little less than 5 years ago. But in that period of time, we've been in Deer and Deer Hunting Magazine twice. We've been in Bow Hunter Magazine and Bow Hunting Magazine gear reviews for what we have on our minerals. And then a couple years ago, we started doing synthetic scents as well.
Ah, excellent. Well, let's talk about those minerals, because unfortunately now I don't think we can use those in the Lower Peninsula, right?
No, unfortunately, we can't. Even though it's geared towards having a healthier deer herd, if you have the right supplement and attractant type of deal, those deer are less susceptible to chronic wasting disease. EHD, hoof rot, the whole 9 yards, because you're building a bigger and stronger and healthier deer herd that actually can help in the long term with the disease prevention.
Yeah, I don't get the whole baiting supplement attractant issue. I mean, you can hunt under an apple tree, but you can't move those apples 20 yards over in front of your blind. I mean, I don't get any of that. I understand that there's a concern about chronic wasting disease, but I think it needs to be reevaluated. And I suspect from a business perspective, you would love to see that too.
Exactly. But you can still sell it here, in the state of Michigan. I know a lot of customers, we're in quite a few, pretty much all the big stores here in Michigan, and a lot of the smaller mom and pop shops per se, where, they're selling more of it now than they have in the past. But you got a lot of customers that are taking up to UP. You got a lot of out-of-state hunters as well. But in our product, in our mix, we have an ingredient that's actually been shown to help eliminate chronic waste and disease prions in the soil. There's no other companies that's doing it, as far as I know. I think we were one of the first, and I try to, like I said, set myself aside from the norm. And we also have probiotics in it. We have prebiotics for gut health, digestibility, help boost the immune system. We have an essential oil that's actually been shown to help keep between 55 and 60% of the flies and midges off cattle. And cattle and deer are both ruminants, so it gets into their bloodstream.
Well, I'm thinking EHD right there, right?
Exactly. But unfortunately, I can't put it on the bags where it says deters or controls flies, because now it would be considered a pesticide,
okay.
which is just an essential oil. But we have an encapsulated product, and we also have a little bit of sulfur in it, which helps with tick control.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that you've got these, but I don't want to talk any more about them because we can't use them here in the Lower Peninsula, which I think
yes.
is unfortunate. But didn't you put some product in Jay's now too, didn't you?
Yeah, we have everything in Jay's.
Okay.
I've gotten both Jay's.
What I would like to talk about, Harry, is your line of scents and attractants there, as far as mock scrapes and licking branches and such. Now, those are still fair game. Those are still legal, right?
Correct. Yeah, even if they said you cannot use real deer urine, even though it's ATA certified, if you have your license and the farm or ranch is certified, there's quite a few states in that area, but ours is all synthetic based.
Ah, okay. So that's how you make it work with the synthetics.
Correct. Yeah, there's quite a few states that actually won't allow the real deer urine, even though everything can be ATA certified. That's why we went the route of...
I get it. I get it completely. Is it too early to start thinking about mock scrapes, licking branches, that type of thing? I mean, we're a long ways from the rut. Or doesn't that matter, Harry?
No, it doesn't matter. Absolutely not. I've been running mock scrapes probably since around maybe the second week of July already. And it's more of a community thing. It's a great way to get information and intel on your deer herd, to actually see what's out there, because you're not triggering and you're not using any kind of like estrus. With our products, we have a gland fuel, which is your preorbital. You can use on a licking branch, your buck rubs, and we have a scrape fuel, which is kind of like a community, like a buck. And it's more of a community scrape. Deer will hit a scrape all year long. From does and fawns to young bucks and older bucks, and it's not more of a territorial thing. It's just basically who's there, who's out there, and it's just as a community. That's all it is.
Can we talk after the break? I got to take a break here. After the break, can we talk about the specifics of where and how and such to set up licking branches, mock scrapes, all that good stuff?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. We're talking with Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors, Michigan-based, family-owned Maniac Outdoors. The website, maniacoutdoors.com, maniacoutdoors.com. As Harry said, he's got what he considers to be some great products. Unfortunately, some of those can't be used in the Lower Peninsula. You might remember a conversation I had or some thoughts I had here a couple of weeks ago about the Lower Peninsula DMI, the Deer Management Initiative. One of the suggestions they had was to allow baiting in the Lower Peninsula in counties that did not have a disease problem. The NRC decided, no, we're not going to look at that. Now, the whole question of the NRC and not listening to the people that they had asked to come up with suggestions, we could do an hour on that alone. But I think it's time, personally, me, Mike Avery, non-expert, non-biologist, I think it's time to revisit this whole concept of allowing attractants and bait. But I don't think the DNR can do it because they're so fully invested in the fact that baiting spreads CWD. I don't think they can get out of it now. But that's another topic. That music. I hear that music in my sleep. I hear that music when I'm awake. I hear that music when I'm working. I hear that music when I'm driving down the road. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine radio show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in, let's go to Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. And then let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. Newberry, which will be my base of operations here in a couple of weeks, as I am bear hunting with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. We'll be hunting over by Seney, but I will be staying closer to Newberry. Looking forward to that hunt. Speaking of the Yoop, this segment of Outdoor Magazine Radio is brought to you by the company that makes the product that makes this sound. Do you want to hear it again? Here it is, this sound right here. Can you guess what that sound is? That's the sound of the Rapid River knife coming out of my pocket and locking back open. You know I carry a Rapid River knife with me all of the time, every day. Now, if I'm in a situation where I don't really want to make it obvious that I'm carrying a big knife with a pocket clip, I have a smaller, a Youper Junior, a Youper Light, whatever it's called, that I'll put inside my pocket. But I always have a Rapid River knife with me. A good knife is one of the best tools that somebody who loves the outdoors can use. I use mine literally every day, sometimes maybe nothing more than opening a package, but I use it every day. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com. That's rapidriverknifeworks.com. Use the promo code Avery10, and you can get 10% off everything, anything on the Rapid River website. Even better, if you can, check out their showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. It is an absolute destination. Great mounts, beautiful showroom. You can watch them make knives. You can watch them, and you can buy a knife and have it engraved right there in front of you. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. Use the promo code Avery10 to get 10% off. Talking right now with Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors, Michigan-based family-owned company. And Harry, you said that that this company is kind of the culmination of 20 years of playing around with the outdoors as a side job. Now it's the real deal. It's your full-time deal.
Correct, yeah. Like I've been in the hunting industry for quite a few years, just doing a lot of stuff with some great companies. And like I said, I noticed probably, roughly about 5 years ago, so I just kind of want to get out there and put out some just fantastic products for, our fellow hunters and stuff. And that's how the Maniac Outdoors came about. And we try to do everything all scientifically through our labs, especially on our synthetic gear products as well.
What's it take to get a company off the ground, specifically in the outdoor industry? What's that process like?
Sweat, tears, headaches, backache. I mean, you absolutely name it. And I knew what I was getting into. I've been doing this for so long, and you only get that one crack at it pretty much. But, you really have to have a huge heart and a passion for what you do. And I kind of took it over from my home life, my business, as a plumber type of deal into doing this. And I never knew anything about the retail world. So luckily I have insomnia. So I would be up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, even when I had to work, just trying to learn the retail world, from having your UPC, your SKUs, and the products on the shelf, and packaging and design. And there's so much to go into it, because you want to have a great product, but you also want to have great packaging as well, and put out the story of basically what's in there, what it is, and what separates yourself from all other companies.
And to make it even tougher, even if you have a great product, if you don't package it the right way, if you don't market it the right way, if you don't get into the right stores, you still aren't going to have the level of success that you might possibly have.
Yeah, that's totally agree. You don't want to have anything too gaudy out there. On our packages, it has the key points, exactly what it is. But again, like you said, it's marketing, promotion. It's basically going back to it's who you know, not what you know type of deal. You can have the best of the best, but if you don't get into the right person, where it'll start picking up steam from store to store to store, and say, hey, he's over in this store, something must be working, let's get into our store.
Well, and the fact that you did have some experience as a rep or whatever, a pro staff or whatever you were doing in the outdoors, at least you knew some of the people in the industry that probably you reached out to.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been doing this for so long, and I've had some good people from, the national sales manager from Rocky Boots to, a buddy of mine that used to do some stuff for Primos back in the day. Actually, they had a Michigan-based company here, which they sold their product to Primos, and he took over at Primos.
Well, let's talk about mock scrapes. You said it's not too early. You've had them out for weeks now. If we were to go out this weekend and say,
Correct.
okay, I'm going to set up a mock scrape because I want to attract deer, I want to inventory deer, I want to see what's going on, where would we put something like that, Harry?
My best areas I like to do are field edges. I've always had really good success with field edges, when deer are hugging that area, just coming out from the woods into the field, whether, you got standing corn or you got beans or soy or your food plots. It always seems they always hit those areas a little harder. But I also do try to sneak in within like 75 to 100 yards of like a bedding area. And then I'll also put them as well. But my main ones are pretty much off of field edges.
And how big is this scrape when you first make it?
It could be 2.5 by 2.5, maybe 3 foot. Just clean the area out. And I'm really diligent on trying to stay scent free. Even during summertime, I'm not even hunting. I will spray myself down with the scent elimination. I wear rubber gloves. I just don't want to give them always the upper hand, even though deer season, when I started doing mock scrapes back in mid-July, I don't want to give them any kind of heads up with any kind of intrusion. So I'm really diligent on using my sprays and trying to keep scent free with everything.
So do you use your boot just to make that, or do you use a branch or a stick or something?
Yeah, I use a branch or a stick.
All right, so
I usually get there and I scrape it out.
And then do you put scent in that right away?
Yes, I do.
What are you putting in there?
Yep. I use scrape fuel inside the scrape itself, which is a buck and community type of scrape. And then on top the branch, usually it's about 4 to 5 foot above. A lot of people using hemp ropes. I use hemp ropes. I use grapevines. Actually, before I started doing all this stuff, I would take in from county to county when the rut, and I would find a really good scrape. I would actually dig the dirt up, put into another scrape in another county. But we also have our gland fuel, which I spray gland fuel, which is your pre-orbital, and I'll put that above on the licking branch as well.
Why a licking branch? What purpose does that serve?
It's their pre-orbital. I've had those, chew on the buds, and then they have a pre-orbital gland right inside the corner of their eyes, and basically that is a gland, almost like a fingerprint from deer to deer. It's totally different, and they use that as a community and say, hey, this is who I am. I'm in this area type of deal as well.
So how long does it take in general, after you put out a mock scrape and a branch above it, how long before deer start actually using that on their own?
Honestly, I've had them within 4 hours, 5 hours to 24 hours in that area. And the nice thing about using the synthetics and our products is they're totally synthetic and they don't smell like your typical ammonia-based product. You know, a lot of times you open that jar and you get that just that initial like, oh, okay, it smells like a salt-based type of deal. And ours they have a little bit of a sweeter smell to it, but all three of our products actually contain pheromones. And we came out with these about 2 years ago, which actually drive deer insane with our products.
So how long does that scent last? Do you have to keep refreshing that, or does the rain refresh that, or how does that work?
Yeah, the rain will refresh it. If it does dry up, a lot of times we won't have rain for, a week and a half. But if you get that morning dew, and basically it rehydrates itself. That's what's so nice about using synthetics. It's going to do it continuous a little bit here and there, but I generally go back and I try to hit my mock scrapes every couple weeks. A couple drops here and there, refresh the licking branch. But say within a day or two, it kind of dries up. You get that morning dew. It does rehydrate it a little bit. So that's what's really nice about using synthetics.
When you first start that mock scrape, how much scent do you put in there? Just a couple of drops then, or more to get it going?
No, on average, you can put anywhere from say a dozen to like a dozen and a half, just drops up in that area, and then just saturate the licking branch above it as well.
When the deer start using this, you don't quit putting stuff in there. You keep putting your product in throughout the season then?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'll run it all the way to almost January 1st, and now I can actually hunt in my area in Lapeer County. I can actually hunt all of January now. So, possibly I can get a second rut kicked in, but I'll generally run them, like I said, all the way from mid-July all the way to end of the year, to the hunting season.
Wow. Well, that ends up being a pretty long season, and they're consistent. They'll come in and use that consistently throughout that entire time period.
Exactly. Like I said, it's more of a community thing. You'll start getting more bucks starting hitting probably the third week of October and into the rut area. But as of right now, I've had fawns in there, does in there, young bucks, mature bucks. Right now is more of a community and more of a curiosity, which is a perfect way to hang a camera above it and to get intel and kind of see what your deer herd is actually looking like, with your buck to doe ratios, and if you're at, after a certain buck.
Well, Harry, I think it's a great idea to get out there now, put out mock scrapes, licking branches above them. I appreciate the fact that you're joining us. The company is Maniac Outdoors, the website maniacoutdoors.com, maniacoutdoors.com. Have a good season. I look forward to seeing the picture you're going to send me, you're going to email it to me, of you sitting over a great big buck that you took using your products. Appreciate your time, Harry.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Steve Wyndham of MUCC will join us. I haven't seen Steve since our big golf outing at the end of July, which actually, time continues to fly, doesn't it? So we'll talk with Steve. Then coming up in hour number 3, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods talking about some of his adventures, including upland bird hunting right here in the great state of Michigan. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ, 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality, warm, wind-resistant, water-resistant set of hunting clothes and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern? If you need big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, or if you're a saddle hunter, VersaSkins makes products just for you. Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Also, Paul Perone of VersaSkins is at the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend this weekend in Imlay City. Again, versaskins.com. Or you can find them on Amazon now as well. Go to Amazon and do a search for VersaSkins brand. How cool is that? All right, I want to turn our attention now to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group I am a member of, a group that I support because I think they're doing a great job in protecting and promoting hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping in our state and keeping an eye out for things in Lansing and beyond that you and I, from our perspective, right, at work or at home or something, we don't know what's going on. But the folks at MUCC make it a point to know what's going on. Steve Wyndham is one of the folks in that group, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Steve, welcome back. How have you been? We haven't talked for a while.
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me. I've been good. How are you?
I'm doing real good. I look forward to seeing you Wednesday, the 18th, at the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack in West Branch.
Yeah, that's going to be a good event. It'll be my second time back there with you, and we're going to have a good time that night.
Yeah, well, you spent a little time in West Branch this summer, didn't you?
Yeah, our golf outing was a huge success thanks to you and your leadership on it and raising over $10,000 for our youth camp.
Well, and thank you for doing everything. I mean, literally everything behind the scenes. So what's going on now in Lansing? What are you guys looking at, Steve?
So really the legislator is on break for the foreseeable future. So with the election coming up, we don't expect to see them back in session until probably late October, November. But we're keeping an eye on anything. It's pretty quiet in Lansing, but, you know, our camp season just wrapped up, and we've got one more great fundraising event in October coming up as well.
What's the fundraiser coming up?
So we're going to be at Rooster Ranch. It's up in Ubley, Michigan in the Thumb, and we're going to be doing a European and a pheasant hunt and a field hunt. So it'll be a great day with a beautiful country breakfast. We'll do some sporting clays to warm up. We'll have a tower hunt, a European hunt, and then we'll have lunch, a gourmet lunch, and then we're going to finish up with a field hunt.
Steve, why the fundraisers? Why does MUCC need to do fundraisers? I mean, after all, we're paying a huge $35 a year to be a member. Doesn't that cover everything?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The cost of less than a box of ammo does not cover everything. So, you know, as a nonprofit and to live our mission to unite citizens to conserve, protect, and enhance Michigan's natural resources and outdoor heritage, we need that funding to do all of our work through advocacy, education, habitat, and communications. And so the mission of MUCC is strong, and we're looking to further support it and get more members as well.
Well, and speaking of members, I know that is indeed a push this year to increase the number of members, to get people to sign up. How is that campaign going?
We are doing good. You know, if you've seen our Facebook page recently, we had a survey out there about APRs in the state of Michigan. A lot of great engagement on that. Now, that doesn't sway our policy process. That happens in convention in March, and so actual membership gets to vote on that. But we're just trying to get a sense of how the greater public feels and then invite them to join MUCC and use their voice if they're passionate about a certain issue.
Well, I wondered about that post. When I saw that, I thought, what's going on here? And then it clicked. Okay, you've taken one of the hot issues in the outdoors and used that as a way to bring attention to MUCC. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, that's exactly, that's really what it is. MUCC's official stance is neutral on APRs right now because at convention, our membership cannot come to a 2/3 majority either way. So we're neutral on the idea, but we just wanted to get some feedback from the general public and then, again, let them know that, MUCC is the best place to use your voice if you're passionate about APRs or baiting or anything really that's natural resources, hunting, fishing, trapping related. MUCC is your voice in Lansing and helps get things done.
All right, speaking of Lansing, once the legislators do come back, you guys, Justin over there, Justin Tomei, is anything going to be accomplished, or is it just now we're waiting until next year?
We're going to try and get some few things over the finish line. So it is going to be dependent on how the election shakes out in November. So, conservation is a great nonpartisan, bipartisan issue, and so we work with both sides of the aisle. So no matter what happens in November, we're going to get back to work as soon as they're back in session and keep fighting for our right to hunt, fish, and trap.
Steve, always a pleasure. Keep up the good fight. I will look forward to seeing you in West Branch on the 18th.
Thanks, Mike. We'll see you then.
All right, Steve Wyndham of MUCC, MUCC.org, MUCC.org. By the way, if you want to join MUCC, go to MUCC.org, click on the join button. As I said earlier, it's like $35 for the year. It's really very, very reasonable. When we had the golf outing, and Steve and Amy Trotter, MUCC Executive Director, were able to talk to the people there, and some of them really didn't have any experience with MUCC, talking to the people there about what MUCC was all about. We had several people, I don't know if they followed up, but several people told me, hey, I like this, and I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to join. Strength in numbers, right? The more people who are part of an organization, the more political clout that organization has, and the more the powers that be will listen to that organization. We got a lot of organizations out there these days that are anti-hunting, anti-shooting, anti-trapping, anti-fur, anti-everything. And they've got big numbers. So let's get some numbers on our side. And I don't make any apologies for supporting MUCC. Do I always agree with everything they do? Absolutely not. Do I think overall they're doing a great job? Absolutely. We'll take a break. When we come back, the Ask Avery segment right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us on the other side of the state, Tawas, WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. In fact, twice each weekend on WIOS. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. You know this by now, but I'll remind you, the way this segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. If there's something that's been bothering you, something you've been wondering about, something you would like answered, this is what the Ask Avery segment is for. You can send me questions that you want me to address directly or something that you would like me to pass along to somebody else, say MUCC, DNR, maybe somebody that I can get access to that you might not be able to. And the best way to get those questions to me is to email me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I'll say this again. I really prefer the emails over the social media messaging because there are so many different messages that come at you these days from so many different directions and so many different platforms. It's hard for me to keep track of them. So please just send me an email, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. This week, a couple of things I want to address that are not examples of specific emails that I can bring up right now, but concepts and topics that we have had discussions on in the past that this week's show have brought up. Two things in particular I'm thinking of. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the youth hunt, next weekend being the youth hunt, and that in 2025, the youth hunt will be does only, no antlered bucks. Now, for this year, 2024, you can shoot bucks. I have been told by people in Lansing in positions to know that don't be surprised if that gets revisited and possibly overturned. But I want to go back to the concept of does only, because for quite a while I have been a proponent of a does only youth hunt for these reasons. Number one, herd management, right? The DNR keeps saying, at least in the southern part of the state, we have too many deer. They want us to take some deer. Well, the youth hunt, if you make it does only, can be somewhat of a management tool, although statistically and biologically, the number of animals taken during the youth hunt is almost insignificant and certainly minimal. Number two, it teaches these young hunters that a doe can be a trophy. An animal doesn't have to have a whole bunch of bone on top of its head to be a trophy. A big old mature doe is a much harder target to take than a 1.5-year-old buck in the rut for sure. You get those big old matriarchal does who come in there and they got some fawns with them and some does from a couple of years ago, and these things are on a swivel, right? To take a doe like that is a real trophy. So to teach these kids that shooting does is okay, I like that concept. And third, I think making it does only takes away some of the social pressure that is put on the youth hunt. Now, and I get sick of hearing this, and I call these people crybabies, right? People say they cry, well, too many big bucks are taken during the youth hunt. And we've been watching this big buck all summer long, and then the neighbor kid came along and shot our buck in the youth hunt. Well, number one, it wasn't your buck. Even if it's been living on your property and wandered over next door, it's not yours. It's the state of Michigan, property of the state of Michigan. They say, well, oftentimes it's the adult hunter that pulls the trigger. It's not the kid. They're just using the youth hunt as an excuse to get out there. Well, I don't think that happens very often. I've had several people tell me I'm being naive, that it does happen a lot. But I will say this, if it is happening, the people who are doing that are dirtbags. They're violators, they are poachers, they're breaking the law, and they're setting a terrible example for that youth hunter. So I've been in favor of a does-only youth hunt for a while. Now, though, I'm hearing a lot of the other side saying, look, we need to do everything we possibly can to keep these kids out there and encourage them to hunt. I guess I didn't realize what an incentive shooting a buck was. Because in my case, like when I was taking my grandson Carter, who is now aged out, for the last 3 years, he said, Grandpa, can we shoot a buck? And the property we were hunting at, my buddy Scott says, no, does only. So I'd say, no, you can't. You got to shoot a doe only. Well, he was a little disappointed, but they didn't keep him home. He still wanted to go out there to shoot a doe. So this year, anything goes. Next year, as it's scheduled right now, it will be bucks only. Don't be surprised if that changes. And I didn't even get to the second topic of this week's Ask Avery, which is the whole discussion about baiting. We'll save that for a future conversation. Again, thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. You can check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. If you have a question for me, email it to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't forget about the big Wednesday night live coming up at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch on the 18th. Love to have you there. Call for reservations 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. We will take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in hour number 3, Jeff Bowett of Jay's Sporting Goods and wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up in the third and final hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And as always, so glad to have you along with us. If you weren't listening to this show, if you didn't listen to the podcast version of the show, if you didn't follow me on social media, there would be no reason, I wouldn't have an excuse to do this, right? I need some kind of an excuse to be able to do this every week to make it legitimate and to make a business out of it. If you weren't listening, if you hadn't supported me over all these years, I wouldn't be able to sit here at this microphone in this studio every week for 3 hours talking about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping in our great state of Michigan. I am blessed to be able to be here. I am blessed that you allow me to be here, and I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. As I look at this week's rundown, something happened this week, and this oftentimes does. when I put a show rundown together for all 3 hours, sometimes things come together. They coalesce in a manner that has a theme that I didn't even intentionally, that wasn't intentional. And I'm looking at this week's rundown. In the first hour, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, a company that's been around for a long time, small family-owned company now growing like crazy. In the second hour, Harry Howland of Maniac Outdoors, a new company, a guy just trying to make his chops in the outdoor industry. And now in hour number 3, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods, the premier family-owned outdoor superstore in the state. So I didn't intend it to work out this way, but sometimes it just does. And when it does, I just sit back and go, that's kind of cool. It's always cool to talk with my friend Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. Jeff is the president of Jay's Sporting Goods. It was his dad, Jay Poet, Jay, get it? Jay of Jay's Sporting Goods, who started the company. Jeff's been around this industry for a long time, and he gets a chance to do some very cool things. And that's what we want to talk about and more on our visit this time around. Jeff, welcome back. How are you?
Good, Mike. Thank you. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be on your show, and it's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. The word honor is kind of strong, buddy. I mean, it's an honor for me to have you along with us.
I thought that out before I said it because it was such a great introduction. And, you've got great supporters, and it really is. It's a cool deal that you're doing, and I'm glad it's still running too.
And isn't it cool? I hate to go back to that word. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it a blessing? Isn't it rewarding to be able to make a living doing something that you love so much? I suspect you feel that way too.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And this business wouldn't have started. That was my dad's theory all along. Life is too short to not want to get up and go to work every day because you're going to work for a lot of days. So he found something he loved to do, and he passed it on to me, and it's a blessing. Oh my gosh. How do you beat it?
You can't. And we've told the story before, but let's go back 50 plus years. Your dad started Jay's Sporting Goods in the parking lot of a company doing something that if you tried to do today, you'd end up in jail.
Yeah. He was a wheeler dealer trader working at Corning, but he was always, like I say, doing something with guns or fishing tackle or whatever, usually guns. And, at lunchtime, hey, let's go out and see what Jay's got in his trunk today, and at Corning, Dow Corning. So today, you're right, Mike, you probably wouldn't want to do that today. But it worked then. And look where the company is now. You got the 2 big stores. You got, 4, maybe 5 generations of the Poet family working there. Yep, 4. Yep.
4?
Yep,
4?
We got 4.
Probably won't be long until 5.
It could be any day, I shouldn't say any day. No, at least 9 months. We don't have any in the oven that I know of.
What is it like? Listen, I've had some very, very limited experience with working with family members, and it was hard for me. I love my son James, but it was hard for me to work with him sometimes. What's it like to work with family day in and day out and do it for 50 years?
Mike, it's got its challenges. Family's family, and sometimes you all get along really well, and then sometimes you have some fallouts. But, I think the key's been every family member's been really good about staying in their lane. We all have specific jobs. That's what we do. We respect each other. Just some good foundational stuff, and then we get together on bigger decisions, and we have good discussions. And so overall, Mike, it's been a blessing like it is to work in the business, but it has its own challenges, but it also has a lot of benefit that family members have a different sense of interest and care most of the time. We've got some fantastic employees that have inherited that and have the same outlook, so Jay's has been very fortunate.
When I think about, looking at it from the outside, the opportunities that being the president of Jay's Sporting Goods has given you, Jeff Poet, man, you've had a chance to do some cool things over the years, haven't you?
Oh, my. I couldn't even begin to list all the opportunities that came just because of, what I was doing or who I ran into or, and the generosity of a lot of other people, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm.
This most recent trip that you made, tell me about that.
Well, myself and Chad Stearns, who's the Vice President of Operations, we were doing the Jays Weber Wildlife and Education Center, and we got that all set up, and there's over 250 animals that are all mounted. But the guy that was putting it all together and setting all the stuff up said, there's a few animals missing in here that would really round this out. And the first one that he said was a musk ox. And I looked at Chad, and Chad looked at me and said, okay, there's going to be a musk ox in here. So that started the whole deal over a year ago, and it came to fruition here last week. And Chad and I made a trip to Greenland, and we both harvested a couple of really nice musk ox. We picked up a couple of caribou, too. That was our secondary animal. So we had a fantastic hunt. Greenland is unlike any other place I've been. I haven't been, all over the world, but it is really, really cool place.
What is it like, Jeff?
It's kind of between like Moonscape and Alaska, and it's like Alaska without trees. I mean, there's like no trees on Greenland at all, and we were on just such a small dot of the country. They say that Greenland's about the size of the United States from Mississippi east, and there's like 56,000 permanent residents there. Wow. So it's not very populated. Everything you do is by boat. You could fly, but again, everything we did was by boat, other than fly in to the main airport. So it's incredible. If a lot of the game has never seen people before in a lot of instances,
Well, that was kind of my next question. How do you hunt a critter if you don't have any trees or vegetation or to hide in? I mean, how do you hunt muskox?
Well, it's pretty mountainous, and they've got a lot of that the low growing vegetation, a lot of berries, a lot of stuff that grows low that's green, and over there you need to be with an indigenous person that has been there, and it's cultural, and so they kind of know where the animals. It'd be like being in Michigan, being at home, and you know what's going on, so you hook up with one of them for your guides, and you're by boat, and you're looking from the water up into the mountains and hillsides, and you find a group or one, and you evaluate it, and then you go after them. Kind of how we did it, Mike.
Muskox, big, hairy, shaggy, horned critter. This is what little bit I know about them. They appear to run in herds, and if they get threatened, they circle up, right?
Yeah. They're a little like our American buffalo. I mean, that's the closest thing that I can think of to, compare it to. They're different, and they weigh, 650 to 750, big animals. And we saw some both ways. We saw them in groups of, 10, 12, and then we saw some individuals. And so, their mating season, I'm assuming, is going to be coming up. But these things are like they were around when the dinosaurs were around. These are probably one of the most prehistoric animals you can pursue. They have a very limited number of tags, and so it's managed very well. And again, all the native Greenlanders are the ones you have to be with, the indigenous people. And so it's just a cool experience. And as you're looking from the water, you got to be dodging icebergs. So, so that's another.
Oh, there's that.
That's another aspect. Yeah. Oh, just, there's an iceberg. Watch out for that one as you're going, 20 or 30 miles an hour.
Hang tight, Jeff. Hang tight. I want to talk more about this. We're talking with Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. He's the president of Jay's Sporting Goods. The website, jaysportinggoods.com. That's jaysportinggoods.com. Stop by either one of the stores in Clare or Gaylord. Take a look around. Stop by the Jay's Weber Outdoor Education Center as well. Very, very cool. Honestly, I haven't been in there yet. It's not because I haven't been invited. I just haven't made it in there yet. I got to make it in there. So do you. Go to the website, jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com. More with Jeff Poet of Jay's after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC on two stations, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And let's see, we'll leave it at that for now. There's a few of our more than 30 Outdoor Magazine radio affiliates. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and if he can help me become a licensed charter captain, believe me, he can help you get your license as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com, for more info. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that will fit your schedule. That's pmtcaptains.com, pmtcaptains.com. When you get in touch with John, tell him that I sent you his direction. I would appreciate that. Speaking of sending people a direction, for years now, I have sent people the direction of Jay's Sporting Goods. I won't tell the entire story this time around, just to say that Jay's was my first advertising partner. And I don't think of the companies I work with as sponsors, because to my mind, sponsors come and go. Partners are people that you establish a relationship with. It's a mutually beneficial, mutually enjoyable relationship, and they are long-term arrangements. And that's what I've had with Jay's Sporting Goods. Jay's was the first company to come on board when I had a chance to go out on my own and make this whole thing happen. And Jeff Poet, president of Jay's Sporting Goods, I will thank you again for that, and for that I have been and will continue to be extremely loyal to you, the Poet family, and Jay's Sporting Goods.
Thank you, Mike. I couldn't have said it any better, describing a partnership, and ours goes way back. It's a cool story in itself. Have you done a story on that?
No, I haven't.
All of your history, and that'd be cool.
Well,
there's an idea for you.
I did a kind of a cool story. In fact, a video podcast a couple of years ago, telling the 50th anniversary story of Jay's with you and your mom and your brother, and to see you guys in that room and tell the story, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a powerful moment. I mean, it was very emotional for all of us in the room. Yeah. That was cool. I'll never forget that.
Well, and that, by the way, is on YouTube. People can search History of Jay's Sporting Goods, and you can find that video. Jeff, I want to go back to your, I can't believe I'm even saying this, your musk ox trip in Greenland. What an adventure that is. So you ended up taking a nice animal. Tell me the story of that particular hunt. I mean, was it something you were there in one day, you were done, and did you have to work for days for this, or how did it play out?
Well, we hunted. When we got there, we had 7 full days of hunting, and we started out with caribou, which, that was kind of our secondary. So Chad and I were kind of chomping at the bit to, hey, let's hunt muskox, in case that's really, we need to go back with one. So anyway, like day 3 into it, the next day was going to be muskox. So we were all pumped up, and we'd actually both had harvested a caribou, so we were excited for that. And now we're going to move on to the main event, and it was really cool. It's kind of a group effort. You have your guides who have been, watching where the muskox have been moving and traveling and all that. So there was a lot of pre-scouting done ahead of time for us, by live people, not game cameras or anything like that. They're in boats and they're watching. So anyway, when it was our turn to do that, it was just a really cool deal. And like I said, you look for them from the boat. We spotted a couple, and it was really neat because we had some other guys in our boat that were hunting muskox too. And Chad and I really wanted to hunt together. And it worked out that we were the last 2 to try and get one of these animals. And we both were able to, we thought we were both going to hunt together side by side, and there would be 2 big bulls there. Well, it ended up being that one was on one side of the lake and the other one was on the other. So we ended up splitting up, but we both harvested them the same afternoon. But, you get out of the boat and then you got to start climbing and climb. And when I got to the one that I was pursuing, we got to the top and it was gone. And I had 2 guides with me, and it's like, where'd that thing go? And you've been on enough hunting trips, animals can just disappear. But, these things are huge and there's no trees. And so anyway, we start, just on foot, hiking around, trying to find this thing. And we did, and we kind of made a move in on it. And they are a big animal. I was hunting with a 300 Winchester Magnum. And I got a great shot. It was about a 100-yard shot, put it right in, and it didn't even hardly flinch. And I'm going, oh, boy. So I'm looking at the guide, and the guides don't speak any English, so that it can be a barrier. So you don't know. I'm trying to figure out if the guide wants me to it didn't take off running. So I'm trying to figure out, do I put another shot in? We finally did some hand signals, were yay or nay, and he gave me a yay, so I got another shot in, and that was the one that was finally put him down. And so that was it. And it was a beautiful day. The scenery was just spectacular. Where we harvested these animals, it's just breathtaking.
Oh, the pictures I saw were just beautiful. In fact, I will, with your permission, I will post the picture of you with your muskox on my Facebook page to promote the show so people can see what it looks like. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Now, I know that Chad Stearns is a hardcore bow hunter. In fact, I have been to Africa with Chad and watched him hunt with a bow. He shot a giraffe with a bow, a huge bull giraffe. Please tell me he didn't go after a muskox with his bow.
He didn't go with the bow.
He's not that crazy then, okay.
Well, he's not that crazy. But we got down to when we were planning the trip, it was about gear. How much gear did we want to take? And we knew probably for the caribou we'd take a rifle. And he was really vacillating. I just kind of gave it up and said, I'm taking a rifle for both. I mean, we really need to get one. And it would have been a good plan. You take your bow, I take my rifle for sure. Between the two of us, we'll get one, And but another piece of gear to haul around in an archery. And so anyway, he bagged that idea. So we both harvested with rifles.
Well, all right, so let's compare this exotic, for many people, once-in-a-lifetime hunt for muskox in Greenland. Let's bring your hunting passions back to Michigan here now. The small game season's going to open soon. I know you as a hardcore upland bird hunter. I mean, we Michigan people, hunters, we don't have to go that far to have a great hunting experience. It's right here in our backyard, isn't it, Jeff?
For us, but I always think up north. But for where I live in Clare and Gaylord, it's just out the door. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I do have to tell you, Mike, I got a brand new pup.
Oh, you
8 weeks old. It's driving me nuts. I'm not getting any sleep. But I'm looking forward to the next 15 years. I've been without a dog for 4 years, and I can't take it any longer.
Well, I know in talking with you in the past about your bird hunting passions, a lot of that does revolve around the interaction with the dog, right?
It does. And I really, I found out how much in the last few years I run English setters, and without a dog, I still went. It's just a different hunt. It's a different feel, and it's a different connection in the field about it. I don't know. It's just hard to explain, Mike, but it's just so much about the dog and watching him work, and it's all so much DNA. I mean, I did very little training with both of my dogs, and to see what they can do in the field is just, it's amazing. So rewarding. I
grew up with English setters, and back then we weren't grouse or woodcock hunters, but we were pheasant hunters, and we had a lot of birds around. And I always tell the story that I think when I got old enough to go out on my own with a dog, I think the dog taught me as much about hunting as any person I ever hunted with.
Amen to that.
So did you happen to buy your dog in the parking lot of Jay's Sporting Goods?
No, we don't do that anymore.
Oh, you don't?
No, we shut that down around COVID, and it never came back. No, I didn't. But it is from Michigan, and its mom was from Michigan, and the father was from Missouri. So I've been working with a fella out of Rockford, Michigan, and I've been talking to him and watching his dogs for a couple of years now, and finally pulled the trigger.
You mentioned COVID. You and I talked a lot back during those dark days. And, boy, the outdoor industry took a huge jump, which was positive because people had a lot of time on their hands. But product was very, very limited. What's the interest in outdoor recreation now? And I gotta believe we got all the product now you can sell.
Yeah, we do. The product is, the situation is reversed. There's still a few small holes, and ammunition is usually one of them, but most everything else is available and lots of it. I think we retained some of the folks. We still lost, some that got into it during that period just because there was a lot of time on people's hands and they were encouraging outdoor activities, and man, we just fit the bill perfectly. And so, I don't know. I think that's where it's at today. Yeah. We do have more people. It's really encouraging. We do a lot of hunter safety classes, and kids are getting started probably earlier with apprentice type programs and that. And we need it. We need it because we're all getting older. You and I, Mike, are, where we're at.
I know where we're at, yeah.
And we need somebody to replace us, at some point. So.
All right. Before I let you go, I got to ask you this question. You know it's coming, and you're seething right now under your breath. What's the future of Jay's Sporting Goods, Jeff Poet? Are we going to see more Jay's Superstores across the state? Because, as you know, every city with an abandoned Kmart wants you to put a Jay's Sporting Goods there.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid answering that directly like I do every time that you ask me. But I can say we're really working with the next generation that's going to make that real call, and they like the idea. They want to. So I would say we're a step closer to it.
Well, I got that much out of you.
I'm not going to give you any more than that.
Oh, man, usually I don't even get that much, so I'm feeling like this whole conversation was a success right there.
There you go. I think it is.
Jeff Poet, listen, always a pleasure. I have much respect for you, the Poet family, everything Jay's stands for. I love to hear about your adventures, and you have an open invitation on this Outdoor Magazine show. Anytime you want, let me know.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods, the website jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com. You can buy online, go into the store. Listen, go into the store, right? That's the fun part. Just walk in there. It's like a toy store for hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers and everything outdoors. 2 stores, Gaylord and the original store in Clare. And check out that video on YouTube about the 50th anniversary of Jay's Sporting Goods. It tells a wonderful story through the eyes of the people who were there and made it happen. More coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us just up the road, just up the coast, in Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us on the other side of the state in Saginaw, News Radio 790 WSGW and 100.5 WSGW. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. Of course, for these 3 hours, it's called the Outdoor Magazine Studio. I'm here with Jonathan Dent. John doing a great job. I was telling Charlie last week, you keep it up, John, and pretty soon you're going to have people standing in the parking lot going, Jonathan, Jonathan. You're not quite there yet, buddy, but keep it up and you might be. This segment of, see, now John has something to aspire to. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's our nature and your nurture. Let them create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. Or maybe you think it's too late in the year to get these projects done. I don't think it is. I think the folks from Reader can still get you in before the cold weather. But even if you don't have a big project planned for now, look forward to next spring. Start getting in the back of your mind right now, okay, what do we want to do? But in the meantime, there's a lot of things that you need done around the house and property and lawn this fall, right? Fall maintenance, fall cleanup, blowing out the sprinkler system, fall pruning, holiday containers. The folks from Reader can take care of it all. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. I can tell you one thing. If you get a crew from Reader that comes to your house, They will be conscientious, hardworking people, because I've had a lot of reader crews at my place over the years, and every single one of them fit that bill. Conscientious, wanted to do the job the way I wanted it done, and hardworking people. Again, readerlandscaping.com. What else? Oh, I got to talk a little bit more, too, because this event is coming right up soon here now. Our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant. It is scheduled for Wednesday night, July 18th. Now, I realize that that's not the best date because the hunting seasons have already opened at that point, but here were my options. I could have done it back on the 4th, which was right after Labor Day. That just didn't seem to work. Another option would have been September 11th, which from a logistic point of view was excellent. It was perfect. It was before things kicked off. But in my mind, in good conscience, I could not bring people together and have a celebration on 9/11. It just doesn't seem right. It's not right, and I'm glad we didn't do it. So we are having it on the 18th of September at the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Now, this is a facility, this is a restaurant, this is a building that we have done several of these Wednesday night lives. It's a perfect place. It is a part of up north. When you get there, it's like, okay, now I'm up north. The food is outstanding. The staff is excellent. And we will bring a lot of great people together. At this year's event, I've got Brad Dupuis, Mr. AnglerQuest, joining us, Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots, the Taggett family from Wreck Broadheads, Steve Wyndham of MUCC, Andy Weiss of Truck Trolley will be there. We've also got products from Rapid River Knives, from Michigan Brand. I'm going to have a Primal Blind there to give away. So we're going to have a lot of great giveaways for people who join us in person, and I would encourage you to do just that. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations. I don't like giving out phone numbers on the air because you're not going to remember them probably. You might be driving, doing something else. So if you don't have that number memorized, which is 989-343-0892, just do a Google search for Lumberjack Restaurant or send me an email. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Say, hey, Avery, what was that phone number again? Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The number is 989-343-0892. Wednesday night lives always start at 7 o'clock sharp, whether I'm doing a Wednesday night live in the field or whether I'm just at the home office, the home studio. That is Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I would encourage you to make your reservations for 5:30, 6-ish, so you can have time to come in, get settled down, get your meal, and we will do our live stream at 7 o'clock, 989-343-0892. Some of our regular guests, our regulars who show up at these events, have scheduling conflicts. So I'm really pushing this. I want to have a full crowd there. I want to have a full restaurant to enjoy this and just make it a part of an up north fall outdoor celebration. 989-343-0892. Now, I do these Wednesday night lives, as I say, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I also do live streams from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio every Wednesday morning at 8:45. As we're in the studio preparing to record the show, I keep that live stream going throughout the first segment of the show. So if you've ever, listened to the show, and, there's so many of these podcasts these days that are video podcasts. You can watch people as they talk. I don't know how interesting it is. That's why I've kind of stayed away from it a little bit. But if you watch the last 12 minutes of the Behind the Mic live streams, you'll see us recording the first segment of the radio show. Maybe that's interesting, maybe not, something to check out. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and my email address is Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I do want to hear from you. I want to see your pictures. I want to hear your stories. Don't hesitate to reach out, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break and wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. It's hard to believe that we've been here in the studio for 3 hours now. Time just really does fly when you're doing something you enjoy, and I do certainly enjoy this. I enjoy talking with people about their outdoor passions, about their experiences, about their love for the outdoors. I appreciate passion. I appreciate knowledge and wisdom. And I appreciate it when people are willing to share that knowledge and wisdom and passion with others. And that certainly describes wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. The guy spent his lifetime in the kitchen, much of it centered around fish and wild game. He's always been very good about sharing his ideas, his recipes, his creations with others. And he's just an all-around good guy. And that's why I like having him on the show. And he's here once again. David, welcome back.
Thanks for the kind words, Michael.
Always a pleasure, buddy. How are you?
I'm very good, actually. Enjoying this little cooler weather. It's pretty nice to get out in the yard and do stuff now.
Yeah. I like that as well. And we got one day this weekend that looks really cool, really nice. Feels like fall is well, I mean, it's not officially fall, but it's starting to feel like it, isn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah, I love it. It's my time of the year.
Mine too. What do you have for us this week, David?
Well, on page 75, we have a pheasant stir fry, but seeing as how goose season is open already, we're going to do a goose stir fry, if that's all right with you.
Perfect.
I've made this a lot of times with a lot of different animals, not just pheasant, goose. I've made it with grouse, woodcock, you name it. So, well, you're going to need... any of your favorite vegetables. You can get them fresh or frozen or make your own. You know, you can get like sliced carrots and sliced real thin on a bias celery. Same thing with the carrots. Edible pea pods, bok choy, Chinese cabbage, red, green peppers, yellow peppers, onions, bean sprouts, any of the above or whatever you can feel like you wanted to put into this dish would be really good. You're going to need a couple tablespoons of toasted sesame seed oil, probably more than that a little bit, depending on how you're going to marinate this. You need enough soy sauce to marinate, a couple teaspoons of fresh ground garlic, 2 teaspoons of fresh ground ginger. You have to use the fresh. You can't really substitute the little flakes of the ginger. You need about a half a cup of brown gravy and 10 to 12 ounces of goose breast, cut into real thin strips across the grain. You want to make sure you don't cut it with the grain. So you want to marinate the goose breast meat slices for about 20 to 30 minutes in the soy sauce and the sesame seed oil. Now, this is an acidic sort of a marinade, so it's going to start to chemically cook it actually, you know. So you want to get a wok or a nice large fry pan, really nice and hot. Add a little bit of sesame seed oil. Be careful because it's going to smoke real quick. You want to work fast with this. So you want to have the meat ready to go into the pan almost immediately after adding the oil so it doesn't smoke on you. And then you're going to stir fry that around a little bit just to get it a little bit brown. And then you're going to add the garlic and ginger, stir fry it for just a little bit more to break the flavor loose because it's going to cool down with the meat. And you're going to remove the meat while quite rare, just brown. You want, and then to a plate off to the side. And then add a small amount of oil to the wok if needed. And then saute your vegetables. You want to cook them al dente. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 minutes anyways, depending on how hot your stove is. And you want to once it's almost ready for how you like it done, you want it kind of al dente. You add the soy sauce, the brown sauce, and stir fry a little bit more. Coat everything real nice. Add the meat, and you only want to warm it up. You don't want to overcook it any more than you have to because, you know, the more you cook goose, the tougher it might be until it gets to the point where it's going to be tender. So you want to work with this real fast, you know. Saute it around, get it done nice and hot, and serve it over rice. Maybe you could chop scallions you could top it with, and it would be just a great meal. And it's a heck of a good way to use goose. And like any of the other ones, pheasant, grouse, like I said, woodcock. I've made rabbit, made all kind of stir fries like this at the restaurant. Whatever we had, people love to order stir fry.
Tell me again real quick before we run out of time. How does marinating something cook it?
It starts to chemically cook it. Anything acidic, whether it would be white wine, red wine, lemon juice, lime juice, soy sauce, any of this stuff starts to actually, it's called chemically cooking. It starts the process of it out. If you could take it and soak your meat, say in soy sauce and vegetable or the soy oil, sesame seed oil, you could actually eat it after about 15 or 20 minutes.
No
and
kidding.
It's pretty well cooked. Yeah.
Well, David,
It's
every
fun.
time, as long as I've known you, I'm learning something new. That's one of the reasons I look forward to our conversations, and I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Thanks a lot. Sorry to take so much time.
Hey, I'm the one who asked you that last question. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. If you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this show, and I don't know what I would do. My name is Mike Avery. This show is Outdoor Magazine. Again, the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And the email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to talking next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.